So T-Mobile CEO John Legere, he is well known for his bombastic, over-the-top statements, but he might have even topped himself yesterday at a company's press event. He was talking about T-Mobile's two main competitors, obviously AT&T and Verizon. These high and mighty duopolists that are raping you for every penny you have, these fuckers hate you.
Damn.
These fuckers hate you. Now, before we get to that comment, we should tell you a little bit more about him. So he's known for this, and he really has turned T-Mobile around, and they've done a ton of stuff with data and prices that have really made the competition much stiffer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look at that. He's for an Article 5 convention. Okay, great. I agree.
See?
We should amend the Constitution to get money out of politics.
You're on board with this guy. So he did an interview with Business Insider magazine a couple weeks ago, and this is what he had to say about his over-the-top way of speaking. He said, "I don't walk closely up against the line. I ignore it. It's who I am. I may be a little rough and crude, but I'm much more like my customers and employees than I am an executive. I think employees relate to the way I speak, customers relate to exactly the way I think and talk, and it's who I am." I am completely on board with this guy, just as the Schweitzer thing that we were just talking about. A little honesty, pretty damn good.
I'm not completely on board with him. I like the honesty. That's perfectly fine, especially because with American CEOs, you don't see this. So that's totally fine. I'm fine with that. But I recently was considering leaving. I'm a Verizon customer, and I have been for a long time. And I was considering dropping my iPhone and going Android and switching my carrier possibly. And so I read as many long-term analyses of how much you would pay under different plans and everything as I possibly could. And if you just look at the details of the plans, they all sound very different. And T-Mobile and Sprint to a lesser extent do sound like these sorts of mavericks or rebels in terms of how they do things. But you don't save money over time. You really don't. With any of these carriers, they end up costing almost exactly the same after a couple of years. And so I think that they've sort of cultivated this image at T-Mobile to a certain extent of being rebels and being willing to do things in a very different way. But I think that while there are some advantages over AT&T and Verizon, I think it is still a corporation trying to make every possible penny they can.
Really?
No, I'm saying, so don't get...
All right, that's the segment, everybody.
My point is, don't get distracted by him saying they're raping you. He wants to rape you too.
No. Okay, so first of all, let's all boo John Iadarola here, okay?
Boo. It takes more than some straight talk.
Okay, no. So the reason I'm booing you is because you got a guy doing populist things, and we should applaud that.
My point is the actual things he's doing are
so
popular.
those are two separate
and I disagree
things.
with you on the substance as well. Now you say, wait a minute, you did the analysis, and you did,
No,
right?
I read many analyses. I didn't do shit.
So, okay, good. That's also on.
That's
no, because my guess is it depends on what kind of service you need, right? Depending on how much you talk, how much data you use, how much texting you use. And so in some cases, T-Mobile might be better for you. In other cases, Verizon or AT&T might be better for you, depending on the situation. So, and of course they're corporations. As long as corporations aren't taking over our government and killing our democracy, I have no problem with them existing and making a profit and wanting to make a profit. Of course, they're not going to do it out of the goodness of their heart. They're trying. That's how capitalism works. And I like that we have a rare CEO who's calling out the bullshit of the other CEOs. Now, it doesn't mean that his product is free. It doesn't mean he's not trying to make money.
I'm saying it's a veil of being cool and pro-consumer that isn't really backed up when you actually look at what his company is actually selling.
Right, so he has done a couple cool things, like they pay your cancellation fees, which could be hundreds of dollars. If you want to jump to T-Mobile, they'll pay that. So
that was factored into the analysis.
Right, so he's done some of that kind of stuff. So I get your point, like it maybe only saves you a couple bucks over a few years, but this sort of reminds me of Mark Cuban in the NBA. And even though he doesn't necessarily do anything that incredible for the players that some other team owner does, there's something good about having a guy like him in the league. And that's sort of what I see going on here. Having people that are willing to speak up a little bit more. It's just nice hearing a CEO with this language. Maybe I'm just a dude.
I agree with that.
But I'm with Dave in that I remember the original owner of the Steelers, started the Rooney legacy. When the players went on strike, the other NFL owners were trying to crush them. This is a while back, obviously.
Yeah.
And Rooney went on the picket line with his players and brought them beer. Okay? Now, it's not like he said, okay, you take over the team. It's not like he was the Packers where the fans actually own the team.
Right.
And the Rooneys in the long run made a tremendous amount of money from the Steelers. But there's something to be said for reaching out and saying, you know, I feel your pain. I understand what's going on. I'm doing the best I can. Obviously, I'm also trying to maximize my profit, right? But those guys are screwing you in these ways that I got to let you know about. And I guess, John, the thing that I find refreshing is that it seems like we almost have a détente between the corporations, that they've made an implicit deal. Hey guys, let's not actually try to compete. Let's just spend all of our energy screwing our consumers, right? And this guy says, no deal. I'm going to compete with you, and I'm actually going to engage in the free market such as it is, and actually try to gain the business from the other guys, because like we're not supposed to be agreeing not to do anything but, you know, against each other, but only against our customers.
Right, so I'm glad you said that, because that actually is what happened with AT&T and Verizon, because they basically just matched their prices on everything, absolutely, and because they thought T-Mobile was going to disappear. Then T-Mobile, this guy came in, he did this cancellation thing and all that, and then it did actually forces the prices to go down a little bit. So even though comparatively now it's sort of the same, it actually did drop the overall pricing scheme.
Right.
So.
And one last thing, I like this story because it's not just about the CEO of Verizon. It's indicative of this rising populism, that like people have had enough. And everything is so bland and vanilla, and you know, you got the Hillary Clinton saying, you know, oh, what's my favorite book? It's the Bible, and everybody vomits at the same time. Like everything is so fake, right? That I like it when a guy like this comes out and says, nah, I'm going to shake things up a little bit, and you know, I'm going to do a little bit of truth telling, and I'm going to be a little aggressive, and I'm going to call it like it is in terms of my competition.
Yeah,
I like that.